Hey there, welcome to my profile and thank you for checking out this intro video. It's a pleasure meeting you. You are probably here because you have to solve an important and urgent business problem and are looking for help. I have good news for you. You came to the right place. I can help you with that. Now you're probably wondering why I am qualified to help you with your problem. So I'm here to tell you a little bit more about myself and how I work and what makes working with me special. So let's get it started. The first point to take away is that I've been a principal at Roivant Health for the last 4 years. You can think of Roivant Health as essentially an operational VC that's based out of New York and has done some incredible things in the last 4 years, I would say. We raised more than $3 billion from top VCs like SoftBank Vision Fund and Founders Fund, and have most recently gone public on the Nasdaq through a SPAC, which is quite a feat if we're honest with ourselves. What Roivant does is essentially just build subsidiaries that are startups and then drop its own employees into these startups. And so that has given me an insane amount of knowledge and experience in all kinds of different areas, starting at the more strategic things like developing a go-to-market strategy or even just a vision and thinking about what the company should be doing based on what the competition is looking like, what the market is looking like, and then more also executing on the product that has been built through commercial, i.e. sales, and ultimately also demand generation through marketing. Certainly two important areas of what I've been focusing on in the last couple of years. But backend has also been an important area of focus for me. So that involves things like finance, from simple things like tracking your expenses and modeling out what your cash burn is going to look like in the next couple of months or even years, to more the things that you need for working with VCs, i.e. building discounted cash flow models or revenue projections, thinking about what your unit economics are. Items like these, I would say, I have covered under the finance area. And then certainly also things like recruiting, project management, anything that's more operational, I've certainly also worked on. So essentially, if we were to summarize it, the entire spectrum of what you need to do on the business side of building a company. And then before Roivant, what's also important to take away is that I have myself started two companies. So I know what you feel like right now, or your founder, depending on your role in the organization that you work for, and the kind of pressure that you're under. And so let me tell you a little bit more about those. Essentially, the two companies that I founded were called Eternity and Mesorbon. And if we take the example of Eternity, that has been really an end-to-end experience of company creation and scaling. So essentially identified the problem, defined the vision and mission and strategy for solving that problem, and then went on to hire a team, both the co-founders and here on Upwork, actually quite a few freelancers. So I know what you feel like and the challenges that you are experiencing as you are hiring freelancers here. And then ultimately through to designing, developing, and then releasing the product on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, which are the two major app stores in the world right now. So that's certainly been an important accomplishment, I would say. And then we have started to scale the business by acquiring users. We got to about 10,000 users, mostly through paid social on Instagram and Facebook, which before iOS 14 were wonderful channels for selling. And then on the B2B side, Eternity was a platform model, which essentially connects B2C and B2B in a platform. Started to sell initial deals to our industry and target market. And, before starting these two companies, I've spent quite a bit of time in banking and in consulting, and then also in the special forces in the Swiss military. So that's a little bit more about myself in terms of professional experience. In terms of education, which is more like a check the mark exercise, but also important to know about, have an MBA from the LSE and Duke in London and North Carolina, respectively, which are, great schools. And then also a bachelor's from the University of St. Gallen in Switzerland, which is one of the top business schools in Europe, and Boğaziçi in Istanbul, which is in Turkey, and that's sort of where I come from originally. So that's my education, and you're probably interested in why I'm here and why I'm doing this. And let me just say that there are two reasons for why I'm on Upwork. The first one is that I love building startups and help anyone that is trying to do that with the challenges that they're experiencing. I know how hard it is to build something, and there is not a lot of things out there that will support you doing it, and that's my mission here. And then the other point is, once you've caught the entrepreneurial bug, it won't let you go. So I'm here to make a little bit of cash and extend my runway for building the next thing, which is an important reason why I'm here, candidly. And so let me tell you a little bit more about how we would be working together if we were to partner here on Upwork, which I hope we will obviously do. What will always happen if you work with me is that before we even have an introduction discussion, I will start researching your company and the problem that you have, develop questions and an initial framework for how I would solve the problem that you're experiencing. At that stage, we will jump on a call and discuss the questions and get to know each other through introductions, which is obviously also important. And then once we had that call, I will continue to think about the problem, write a proposal which outlines which steps essentially I will take to solve your problem, and be very focused. I think it's important that in the steps and the framework that I built for solving your problem, I don't suggest unnecessary things. I will only suggest what I think are the most relevant tasks that you have to accomplish and go through in order to solve your problem. I will tell you how long it will take and what it will cost, whether it's hours or a total amount if we work on a project basis. And so you have good transparency in terms of what it's going to be like working with me. And then if we do like, the proposal and we start working together, we will maybe have a kickoff meeting just to clarify a couple of additional things in terms of questions and approach. And then I will start working and deliver outputs pretty much immediately, share those with you once they are at a certain degree of maturity. And as we are approaching critical milestones in the decision-making between A and B direction that my research can take and the work that we do together, we will have additional interim check-ins just to discuss and make sure we are all aligned on what we're supposed to expect next. And then ultimately there will be a final presentation, a handover of the work, and then I hope we stay good business partners because you can expect by far above sort of the average type of output and work that you find here on Upwork. Since I've sort of been on that side, I know what it typically looks like, and rest assured this is not the quality that I work on. And so I think that's a good segue for thinking about what makes me unique and why you should partner with me. And I think the first point we have kind of already touched, have a pretty broad experience in terms of company building, which gives me a broad skill set all the way from like strategy through to execution, all the business things that you work on. And that's pretty unique, I would say. What's also important when you work with me is that, I've kind of given you a little bit of a heads up with regard to my process for solving difficult problems. And it's important to have a process like that because if you don't have one, you're immediately at a disadvantage and you do sort of one of wonders, which is much more challenging to do if we're honest with ourselves. And then I guess through my experience in the Swiss military, I've developed quite insane attention to detail. I'm very reliable. You can rest assured that I will deliver work on time. And then ultimately, I think what's also important for you to know is that I don't do a lot of projects at the same time. I focus on one if it's large enough for me to be sort of busy, and you'll get my undivided attention and accordingly higher quality of work, I would say. And then, what's probably also important for you to think about is that even if we stop working together once the partnership is completed, I will be available to quick check-ins, to coach you and do sparring sessions whenever you have critical business questions that you're thinking about. So I'm here to build long-term relationships. And while I do want to earn the cash, I think it's important to help you and your company thrive as much as I can and within my capabilities. And I guess that brings me to my call to action. So if you liked what you hear and what I said in the last, my God, we're already at almost 9 minutes. You can see that I like to talk a little bit too much. Reach out to me, get in touch. We set up an introduction call.